Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. You are tuned in to the American Cream Show. I am your host, Hyacinth Henderson, and Cream is a financial educational show where I show you, teach you, lead you, guide you on how to redefine the American dream on your terms with Cream. If this is your first time here, welcome, welcome. You are in for a treat. The American Cream Show is unconventional and non traditional, but we get to the meat of the bone, right? The bone of the meat of the situation, however it goes. We get to the bottom of the barrel. So on the American Cream, it's financial education with a twist. Is what I like to say. I talk to you and I educate you and I challenge you to expand your mindset, open your mindset so that you can actually live life on your terms while being in prosperity and not poverty. All right. I know that Facebook has a little bit of a delay, so we're going to let people come on in here to my YouTube folks and my podcast folks. I know that you all start getting the audio as soon as I hit the go button. So welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're new here, you're in for a treat. If you're family already, if you're a part of the Cream Tribe, welcome back. Thank you for being here. If you haven't done so already, get your pen and paper, get comfortable. As you all know, on the American Cream, it is my goal to educate you, to empower you, to uplift you, and to inform you. So you need your notebook and your notepad and your pen and paper, whatever it is that you're going to use to take notes, so that you can not only hear the information, but write it down. And then hopefully you go back and you revisit it, right? So that's how you activate your learning so that you can create new behaviors, not just listening to it and going on about your day, but listening and then you take it a step above when you write it down, and then another notch above when you actually go back and revisit your notes. All right. So get in here. I see my people coming in here already. I see June. She has the fire burning. She is on fire this morning. She is hot. She says, I achieved the seemingly impossible. Yes, you do. Yes, we do. Miss Brenda Brown says, I am my greatest asset. Miss Dorothy Henderson is here. Happy Saturday to you as well. My good friend Diana George is here. She says, I am my greatest asset. Diana will be visiting me from on Monday. I'm so excited about that. So yeah, it's a good day. All right. So I am just getting back in town late last night. Y'all know I kind of skipped town during the week, slide out and then slide back in just in time for my show. So I spent a few days in Pittsburgh, in the Pittsburgh area. And while I was in Pittsburgh, we found a breakfast, and this was like it felt like I was at my Uncle Pete's house for breakfast, because it was a small dining room area. It wasn't really a dining room, it was a small restaurant, and it was like 6 seats in there right at the counter. And Pete, who welcomed you and told you to sit down somewhere, also cooked your food, and he also was the owner. So it was a very intimate setting. And I had the bomb fish and grits and all that stuff like that. It was just so good to my body. And so I know I'm going to cry on the treadmill later. But anyway, during that small, intimate setting, we got to have some conversation. And it was interesting conversation just about life in general, how Pete got to being a restaurant owner and his path. And then we started talking about money and retirement. Well, they started talking about it. I was really listening because I was eating my fish and grits, and I didn't want to interject and say anything wrong and then have to be put out with these good fish and grits. So I just stayed there and listened. But one of the gentlemen that was in the restaurant said that he is a life insurance agent. He says that he's a life insurance agent, and that he really likes the freedom of being a life insurance agent because he gets to be self-employed. And he started talking about the IUL. So for those of you who are listeners of the Cream Tribe, you know that I talk about the IUL with you, which is the Index Universal Life Insurance Policy. Now, I may have said before, and if not, I'll say it again. Well, I know I've said it before. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The IUL, all IULs are not built the same. So anyway, this gentleman was saying that he sells life insurance, and he also sells different types of life insurance and IULs. But anyway, we got to the point in the conversation when Pete said something, and I had to look up from my fish and grits at this point, and potatoes, because I like 2 carbs. But I had to look up from my fish, grits, and potatoes at this point, and kind of tilt my head a little bit. Pete said there is no room for a black man in America to retire. He does not see retirement. He feels that retirement isn't attainable. Black people aren't supposed to retire. He's just going to work. He's going to use all his good stuff. He's not getting no life insurance. If his kids want life insurance on him, they need to pay for it now because he's spending everything that he has. Now, I could have educated Pete, but I told you I didn't want to be put out of his restaurant because I know when it's not really your house and the restaurant feel like a house, you cannot just come in there and just start stating your, your beliefs and stuff. So I said, you know what, I'll take it to the show. So if you have not listened to the previous episodes where we talked about life insurance, I want you to go back and listen to them. And then I also am going to tie in another way to use life insurance at the end of this episode, because one thing that I got from Pete, besides a fantastic breakfast, and I don't remember the name of the restaurant, but the one thing that I got from Pete is a reminder that there are people in pockets all over the world that still need the information that I share. There are people in pockets all over the world that have different mindsets. Their environments create the mindset and the beliefs that they have. So when I heard Pete, I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep getting up on Saturday mornings and doing my thing, because I never know who I'm reaching and teaching and impacting. So that is the idea or the energy behind where today's episode is coming from. So we're going to tie that into not only retirement. I'm now going to talk about higher education, your master's degree. I think I titled this episode, Is Your Master's Mastering You? Has your master's become your master? I had a lot of things. Is your master degree your master? And so let's talk about this. So oftentimes I get calls. I have calls with people who are interested in becoming a client of the Henderson Financial Group, or are already clients of the Henderson Financial Group. And we start going over their goals and, their plans and any upcoming expenses that they may foresee coming. And we just start having this conversation about what's what. And quite often people tell me, well, they're going back to school. And I say, okay, you're going back to school and they're going to get their degree in X or Y or Z or whatever they're going to get their degree in. And so the natural question for me, and I know that they're expecting this question because they always have the answer to this question, is how much is it going to cost you? And they know that answer. They're like, oh, it's going to cost me X, Y, Z. It's going to cost me $60,000. It's going to cost me $100,000 to go back to school. And I'm like, cool, bet. You've done your homework. You were prepared for that question. You get an A. The next question that I asked, almost 99% of the time, they are never prepared for this question. The question that I ask is, well, after you go back to school and you get your master's degree, how much more income are you going to make? 99.9% of the time, it doesn't matter if it's a client or a prospect. And I give the distinction because we have clients of the Henderson Financial Group, but just because you're our client doesn't mean you magically open up your money mindset. It takes a work, a massaging. We're constantly massaging that mindset so that you can see things differently. So that's why at the Henderson Financial Group, we're big on the relationship and not the transaction. What does that mean? Sometimes people call here and they're like, hey, I got XYZ dollars. Tell me where to put it. And I'm like, whoa, I'm not no cheap thrill. You can't just come over here and say, hey, Hyacinth, we have this. We want to know where to put it. Like, sit down, get comfortable. Let me get to know you a little bit so that we can advise you instead of becoming just telling you, a transactional relationship, right? Just here's my money. Here's what to do. So sometimes clients and prospects, they don't know the answer to this question. And you know what they say? I have not thought about that. I have not thought about it. All I know is that somebody or somewhere, or maybe the online marketing has said that go back and get your master's degree because it's the best thing since sliced bread or whatever it says. I don't know what it says because I don't look up educational things, so I don't get those ads. But somewhere along the line, you have been, I don't want to say programmed, but somewhere along the line, you have started to believe that your master's degree is what's needed to get you to the next level. So let me break down the science of your master's degree, the business of your master's degree a little bit, because everything is a business. Mr. Henderson's 8 a.m. show is the Understanding Money show, and the jingle says it's all about the money. So I don't want anybody to be mistaken in thinking that it's never about the money. It's always about the money. So here it is. First of all, did you know that when you are borrowing money for a master's degree, there's no limit, right? You can borrow, if you say you need to borrow $100,000 to obtain your master's degree, the federal government will give you $100,000. If you need $300,000, the federal government will give you $300,000. There's no limit unto how much you can borrow to obtain your master's degree from the federal government. And at first glance, when you see those online marketing, you may be on Facebook and you get an ad or whatever, somebody's telling you they're going back for their master's degree. And you're like, I want to go back for my master's degree. Mind you, you don't know how much more you're going to get paid after you go into this debt. That's the first thing. You don't know how much more your income is going to increase when you add this expense. You're just focused on the expense and not the income. And that's something that we have to step away from. But when you find the program and you read the reviews and you see that it's offered by this prestigious university, or they put all the flowering words in there to bring you in, you say, gosh, how am I going to pay for this? Well, I can take out some student loans. And the student loans say, hey, if you're taking out federal student loans for a master's degree, they say, listen, we don't care how you're going to pay it back. We don't care about your ability to pay. We're going to let you sign here and we're going to give you this money. And not only will we pay for the educational credits, we're going to also pay for your living expenses. We're going to pay for your books. We're going to pay for whatever you need. There is no limit to the amount of money you can borrow. Why? Because you are guaranteeing the federal government's future, because you're going to have to pay that money back. What do you mean, Hyacinth? I'm going to have to pay that money back? Well, when it comes time for you to qualify for certain things, if you have student loans or if you're in default on federal government loans, then all of a sudden you can no longer qualify. And if you're not on default on these loans, you may not make enough to be able to qualify for a first-time home buyer program, for an investment property or certain things, because you've borrowed hundreds of thousands of dollars for your master's program. Hyacinth, are you picking on the master's program? No, I am shedding some light on it. So let's go back. OPM. I know most people understand that when you hear Hyacinth say OPM, I'm talking about other people's money. OPM also is an acronym in the master's program community, and it stands for Online Program Managers. So what is an online program manager? Type OPM in the comment section. OPM in the comment section. Understand that this program may be for you today. Maybe you got your master's. Maybe you're thinking about going back to get your master's. Maybe it's for your child. Maybe it's for your niece. This program is for somebody, because I cannot sit here and say, well, the people around me aren't going back for their masters, because I was just reminded when I was in Pittsburgh sitting in Pete's Cafe that he feels like retirement is not an option for him. So there is somebody who needs this conversation right here and right now, because maybe they've been getting some pressure. Maybe all their friends and relatives are going back and getting their masters. Maybe they feel like if they only go back and get their masters, they'll make more money, or that's a solution to their problem, to get their more masters. So I said, let me bring this to the show. So OPM, Online Program Managers. Who are the OPMs? Let me shed some light on this for you. Most master's programs, it doesn't matter what college or university, what prestigious university name they slap on the program. An OPM is an online program manager. They create the master's programs and they sell them to the universities. So now it becomes who can market the best. So I've created this program. It's not your prestigious professors. It's not what the people are believing that they're getting. But so I've created these programs. We also have the educators, the professors, the teachers, the staff, their private companies that create and operate the master's programs. And the college or university that has the biggest and best name in town and the best reviews online, you're going to pay them your $100,000. Maybe you'll pay them $70,000 for a 10 months master's program. Why does this matter? Well, it matters because we start talking about the meat and potatoes of what you're getting. It's almost like you believe that you're getting your grandma's good home kick cooking. It's sometimes when we go out to eat, and if it's a restaurant, I'm like, well, who auntie they got in the back? They got somebody auntie in the back. So it's almost thinking that you're going to get your auntie's cooking or your grandma's cooking, and you get there and they're like, you know what? They just put the name on the restaurant, but auntie really not in the back. Auntie is on the beach cashing a check because she done sold her name to this place to be able to use this to get people in there. That's what an OPM does. That's what an OPM does. So a lot of times you are not getting what you're getting is a program in the box, and you're getting the best marketer wins. Whoever marketed their master's program the best, that's who you took out that student loan for and decided to go to their program. Well, Hyacinth, this all sounds like it's okay. I'm still not sure where you're going with this. Well, I'm glad that you asked. Last week, I believe it was, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal, and they did a study on the financing and the money behind master's degrees and the cost behind master's degrees. And what they found was the average amount of debt to get your master's degree from, I think it was Columbia University, is $181,000. $181,000 to get your master's degree in a specialized area. 181,000, $181,000. 2 years after the program, 50% of those people who spent up to $181,000, and that's the average. That means some people could have spent more and some people spent less. The average is right in the middle. 2 years after the program, 50%, half of those people were making less than $30,000 a year. So let's go back. So when I ask you, okay, you want to obtain your master's degree, you're telling your child to go, whatever the case may be, and you know how much it's going to cost. Have you figured out how much more you're going to bring in? These numbers are important because I don't want you to find yourself spending $181,000 on a degree and 2 years later making less than $30,000. And that's at one university. Another university, I think it was New York University, the average debt is $116,000 for your master's. It's for your master's. It's after your bachelor's, because there's a difference. When you obtain your bachelor's degree, the federal government has lending limits in place. You can't take as much money as you want to be able to obtain your degree, your bachelor's degree. They're going to say, okay, we're only going to lend you XYZ, as opposed to when it comes time for your master's, they're going to let you sit at that buffet and eat as much as you want, as much as you want, as much as you want. You may have to unbuckle your pants. I remember back in the day, that was a thing, like, oh, eat till you have to unbuckle your pants. They don't care if you unbuckling your pants, if you can hardly breathe, if you need to be carried out of there on a stretcher. They're going to let you continue to sit there and eat. They're going to let you continue to sit there and borrow, because they're saying, look at this person. Do they have a plan to pay this money back? And even if they have a plan to pay this money back, do they have a plan to be able to earn more than they spent in obtaining the master's degree? So I already touched on their different rules when you're obtaining the bachelor's degree as far as funding. Here's something that is also very interesting. When universities and colleges share their bachelor's degrees offerings, they have to be 4-year programs. A master's degree can be a 10-month master's degree program. It can be a 10-month master's degree program, and it costs you $70,000. And you have been sold and told to believe that when you, after this 10 months and you spend this $70,000, your life is going to magically change and you're going to be able to walk over into prosperity land from poverty land. And that's not necessarily the case. 4-year degree, they also have to publish data such as acceptance rates and SAT scores. When you're obtaining your bachelor's, the universities and colleges have to publish this information. When you're obtaining your master's degrees, they do not. They just say, hey, it literally is, may the best marketer win. The master's degree programs do not have to publish their admission statistics. So you are making a choice based on what you feel and what you think will be the best program for you, because of really and truly, if you have not done the numbers, as most people have not done, it's based on your egoic needs for more. Oh, well, if I get my master's degree, then I'll have some more letters, or I'll have X, Y, and Z, and I'll be able to do ABC. But logically, you haven't sat down to think about the numbers. And so why are we bringing this conversation here? We're bringing this conversation here because a lot of people just don't know. It leads me into something that I want to talk about probably in more detail next week, and that's limiting beliefs. Are your limiting beliefs keeping you in a poverty consciousness instead of a prosperity consciousness? Are your limiting beliefs keeping you in poverty consciousness? What is a limiting belief that I see a lot of times? A limiting belief that I see people have a lot of times, they say, I want to be financially free. I want to do things differently, but I'm also going to go and live the American dream by buying a home and obtaining a 30-year mortgage and locking myself down to a property. Why is that a limiting belief? That is a limiting belief because most people don't think about what else it takes for you to actively own a home. It's beyond the mortgage payment. You have to think about the property taxes. You have to think about the property insurance. You have to think about the maintenance. But our limiting belief says, if I don't own my own home, if I am renting, I am paying someone else's mortgage, and that doesn't look good. Well, that's ego, because you cannot be owning your own home, renting your primary home, renting the primary space where you live, and owning investment property. And what does that do for you? That gives you more pots on the stove. So the limiting belief says, if I am not a first-time home buyer, if I have not gone to college and obtained this degree and obtained thousands of dollars in student loan debt, whether it's for a bachelor's degree or if it's for a master's degree, If I have not done that and then gone out and purchased a home, then I'm not good enough. And I'm a failure. And so there's these limiting beliefs that we carry around, and we not only keep them to ourselves, but we share them with other people. So when you think about home ownership, and also when you think about your master's degree, I want you to ask yourself, is your master's degree your master? Has your master's degree become your master? Because if you have not done the numbers, and if you don't know that after you graduate with your master's degree, that you're going to be able to comfortably pay off these student loans. Remember, I'm saying comfortably. That's the active word here. Comfortably pay off the student loans. Not, I got to pay off these student loans and I have to decide on if I can save for my child's future or college tuition, or if I can start a business or whatever it is I want to do, or I have to make my student loan payments. Because there's a difference. And sometimes when we don't realize that we're being sold and marketed to, which everything is a business. I already told y'all that. When you're seeing these programs, you don't realize you're being marketed to. You start to believe that you need to have this master's degree to be able to go to the next level. Heck, a lot of people start to believe like they have to have a bachelor's degree to be successful. I know when I first started being on Facebook, it probably was like 2015, 2014. I was very... I don't want to say ashamed, but that probably is the word. I didn't graduate from college. And so I would start getting these requests to do speaking and doing all these things like that. And I was like, I don't have a college degree. Why should I get up here and talk to people? And with, the people who I had around me, they were like, Hyacinth, you don't need a college degree. But there are still people who have this limiting mindset, who believe that. And before y'all jump down my throat, I'm not saying that you don't need college. What I'm saying is, if you probably need college if you want to be an eye surgeon, because you need to go through the program to figure out how to operate on somebody's eye. If you want to be a business person, you don't necessarily need college. If you want to be a dentist, you need college. If you want to be an attorney, you need some level of higher education. If you don't want to have a specialized career, if that is not what you're focused on right now, I don't know that college is the right choice, because especially if you have to take out student loans. Now, water break. I have to say that for the people on the podcast, because like Hyacinth, it went silent. I didn't know what happened. That was a water break. So now if you have to, if you're going into a specialized field, then sure, you're going to need the appropriate training and the appropriate education. But if you are not going into a specialized field, you got to stop and ask yourself, am I doing this because I'm following the American dream based on doing what they're telling me to do? And then one day I may end up saying, well, how did I get here? I don't have no money. I could barely pay my bills. And here's what they like to do: IBR, income-based repayment. Oh, you got student loans? Just put yourself on an IBR, income-based repayment. Here's the thing about income-based repayment. And I said it once. I'm going to say it again, because I realized some of y'all may have been asleep the last time I said it, or some of y'all didn't know about me the last time I said it. Income-based repayment is a fancy way to make the government make you feel like they're helping you when they're really securing their future. How? Because they're going to say, all right, pay us whatever you want to pay us. We're still going to charge you interest. And what does that interest mean? That interest is still going to accumulate, whether you pay us $1, $2, or $10. We're still accumulating interest. So you wonder why you're ending up 40, 50, 60 years old, 70 years old. This is real life. I'm not talking to you about what I think. I'm talking about what I see. When I see the intake sheets come in and you still have student loan debt because you've deferred it, you've agreed to IBR, income-based repayment, and the government is saying, listen, you can't move too far without paying my debt. So you can pay it today, you can pay it tomorrow. All you're doing is securing my future. So when you think about this and you think about, what is it that you really want? Do you want financial freedom? Do you want to be the best you that you can be? Or do you want the titles? Do you want the degrees? Do you want the accolades? And I have to say it like that because I know that there are a lot of people who are more concerned with the titles and the accolades than actually being concerned with moving the ball down the court. And the ball that we're moving down the court is we're moving the ball from poverty land to prosperity land. We're moving the ball from poverty consciousness to prosperity consciousness. And you're going to have to be able to unpack some limiting beliefs. You're going to have to be able to peel back some layers and say, yes, I see y'all ads. Let me click stop showing these ads. Yes, I know my friends and my family members are going back and getting their masters, but I did the numbers, and if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. I'm not doing this today. I figured out that maybe I don't need to spend $70,000 for a 10-month program to get my master's master's degree. Maybe what I really need to do is go this route and to be able to educate myself and do the work. Do the work so that you can actually have the OJT, on the job training, and be able to do what you need to do to get to where you need to get. So we have to break out of this, because if not, we will have these limiting beliefs keeping us broke, busted, and disgusted. The limiting beliefs will keep us stuck, and we'll be wondering why I'm doing everything they telling me to do on the TV and I'm not making movements. I'm doing everything they told me to do on the TV. I can't believe I spent $180,000 on this degree and I'm making $30,000 now a year. I'm making $30,000 a year, and they gave me that money. All I had to do was sign. They didn't ask me if I had a job. They didn't ask me if I had good credit. They did not care. They said, you want the money? We're going to give it to you. So you have to take a step back and ask yourself, whose responsibility is it? Is it your responsibility, or is it the government's responsibility? Is it your responsibility, or is it your friends and family's responsibility? Because as I learned this weekend, I heard this. I visited a place called Randyland, and the owner said, we're all seeds. And I had never heard it put this way. And I thought, this is very profound. He said, we're all seeds, and our environment is what waters us. Our environment, we grow up and we sprout based on the things that we're around, what environments we're in. So if you're around an environment that leads you to believe that you have to have certain things or certain titles or labels to be successful, you might want to change your environment. And that's why I decided to come on today and talk about this, because I said, you know what, there are lots of people, there are one too many people that I have conversations with, and they got their goals mapped out. We're going back to get a master's degree and don't know how much more money they're going to make. Well, that don't make good sense. So for those of you who are out there listening, if you're going back to get your master's degree, the first thing you got to figure out is why. Why am I going back to get my master's degree? After you figure that out, the next question is, how much is it going to cost me? And the most important question is, how much more income am I going to be able to bring in when I obtain this master's degree? And for those of you who have student loans, we help people eliminate their student loans in 7 years or less. Sometimes, depending on how much student loans you have and your cash flow, we get you out of student loan debt in 5 years. That's a big difference, because when we plug in the calculator from the way your payments are designed and set up, you can be paying your student loans for 30, 40 years. It is real life that I see 60-year-olds with student loan debt. It is real life that I see 60-year-olds with hundreds of thousands of student loans debt. So no, you can't help your children. No, you can't help your grandchildren, because you still have these student loans who are acting as gum on your shoe. Give us a call, 305-825-1444. Let us put together a plan for you so that we can show you how to get out of your student loan debt in half the time and 75% of the time. It depends on your commitment. All right, I believe that's my time. It is 10:04, 10:05. One thing I want to say before I go, I've been getting a lot of calls since I've been talking more about life insurance. Y'all are listening. I appreciate that. Thank you all so much for listening. I've been getting calls and people saying, hey, my cousin, my auntie, somebody does life insurance. Here's the illustration. Can you give it a look? And I'm like, all right. One part of me is like, why you want me to look at their stuff? But the other part of me is like, all right, Hyacinth, do community service. When I'm looking at these illustrations, I am noticing that the policies are not built correctly. The policies are not built with you in mind. The policies are not built for your maximum interest. And I'm not saying that the people who are building your policies are doing it intentionally. Maybe they don't know. Because as I stated, when I was in Pete's kitchen, there was a life insurance agent in there and he's a regular in Pete's restaurant. And not one time did he tell Pete, hey, you're looking at life insurance the wrong way. I can get you life insurance for your business and blah, blah, blah. He didn't say that. I don't know if he didn't know, but I share that to say not all life insurance agents are created equal. Not all life insurance policies are built equally. So if you are looking to use your life insurance policy as a way for you to become the banker, I'm going to give you this one quick tip. And then I'm going to go because we have the Understanding Money Part 2 show coming on. This one quick tip is look at your starting face amount of the insurance policy. So if you start the policy and you say, you know what, I need life insurance and I want to pay $1,000 a month because Hyacinth and Mr. Henderson have been talking about it, or I want to pay $500 a month, and you tell the person, you say, I want to get an IUL and I want to pay $1,000 a month, and they say, great, I'm going to run you an illustration, and they do, and they give you something, and you got $1 million policy. I want you to understand that what you're doing is using the majority of your $1,000 a month to buy that life insurance. That is wrong. I see it all the time. That is wrong. So it may make you feel good to say, I got $1 million policy. But the reason why I say that is wrong is because when we overfund a policy, we are dumping as much money into the policy that we can because the IRS can't touch this money. Remember that. Go back and watch the previous episodes. It's called Be Your Own Banker, Banker Producer, something like that. I'll tag them later. So if I'm dumping as much money in this policy so that the IRS can't touch it, I don't want to start off with the high death benefit. If I start off with the high death benefit, that means you're buying more insurance instead of putting more money into the account that's going to grow cash value for me. Mr. Henderson is walking up here. That's my time. But I wanted to give y'all that. Look at your stuff. And if you want a review, give us a call, 305-825-1444, and I will review it for you. And one last thing before I go. If you set an appointment, if I block out some time for you and you don't show up for your appointment, I'm not setting another appointment for you. You're going to have to keep what you have. Okay? All right. Until then, y'all stay safe and stay sane. Peace.